As we get started tonight, I just wanted to come in and set an intention for us, infuse some healing energy, some uplifting energy with a beautiful new Metatron Aura Spray. It's a limited edition of one of my absolute favorites, the Emerald Renewal and Recovery. This one is Emerald Dew, Pick Me Up Spirit Lift. And it's really lovely. I'm spraying and infusing that energy for us now with an emerald ray, which is intended to be a pick-me-up tonic for this time of transition that we're in, or in fact, any time of change in our lives. So I know that so many of us are moving through really, transitionary times, really changes, endings, new beginnings, all the things. And so I thought I might bring this in on the other side of that new moon in Taurus as we're finishing out the last days of Taurus season, all while the air energy is coming in very quickly and picking up an opportunity for us to get grounded. And I wanted to share with you some of the beautiful channeled words from Amanda Ellis for this energy spray. After the storm, the cleanup begins, enthusiasm and the spark reignited to start again. Pick up the pieces and move forward with renewed direction and purpose. The storm can have been an argument or just heightened emotions, a stressful, anxious hour, a busy, exciting period, or anything that left you in need of refreshment and the space to just be. Emerald dew, like the dew found at early dawn, signifies the hope and promise of what is to come, not what has been. It is the marker that whispers, "Let's try again." Take some time out, or just simply breathe, ground. All is well, and all will be well. Dew, like the nectar it is to plants and vegetation, offers us revival too, after a difficult or consuming period, or as sustenance whilst we are still going through something. Its gentle cleansing helps to wash away in a soft manner the debris of a bad night's sleep or a difficult year, via its presence as nature showcases the new day to come and beckons us to follow her rhythm and grace. It can be used any time that your cup feels depleted, others have taken too much from you, or you have not administered your own boundaries clearly. In nature, dew forms only when conditions are just right. Coolness, stillness, and a surface willing to be receptive to hold its clear drops of treasure. Thus, it teaches us that we too need to be open to receive, whether that be for the next piece of information, instruction, relationship, offer, task to do, or stirring of energy mustered up from a place of tiredness or lethargy. So too, a reminder of need for a cool head, a pause, breath, and moment of reflection. And so spraying this feels the perfect lift and pick-me-up that you need. It unites all parts of you, puts you back together again, and does so via connection to the higher realms and Mother Nature herself. There's high vibrational crystalline energy here, infused with Lemurian quartz essence and presented with a clear quartz point and emerald crystal chip inside the bottle. So it brings forward an energy that we can call in whenever feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, tired, stressed, or just in need of a recharge and time out. And it can also be used beautifully to refresh the energy in a room, around a working space, where you sleep, and very handy as well for travel to help you arrive feeling alert and prepared. So I wanted to send that intention out to you. And of course, while it is always lovely to experience the sprays in person, as I always say, if only there were smell-o-vision, This is energetic and intentional, so it has already been sent to you, and you can tune into its energy. I'm holding a beautiful emerald stone in my hand as I'm sharing this with you. So I just encourage you to tune into the energies of Emerald Dew as we step into this next week. And now we prepare to tune in for some intuitive guidance from the cards. We'll talk about some of the astrological weather we're moving through and share those messages and intentions here together. As always, sending you much love, many blessings. Let's get into it now. Hello, welcome in. I hope you enjoyed that. I just needed to have a little renewal and recovery for myself, so I thought I would share that with you because I know that the camera does not do justice to how beautiful the energy of this bottle is. There's the emerald and the crystal quartz in there, and a little green rhinestone on the top to give us that emerald green ray infused throughout this beautiful balm. So that has been infused into our space here and for our messages this week, along with this beautiful emerald crystal healing stone. So that will be here as well as we step into another week of May, and specifically one of those crossover weeks where Taurus season meets Gemini season. And we're just on the other side of last night's Taurus New Moon as I'm recording this on a Sunday evening. It's actually a little late, so I'm going to keep things moving tonight. But whenever you come in to receive these messages, they are for you. And so I'm going to bring in our beautiful transient light tarot and start shuffling as we chat for a moment here. So much going on. I know I mentioned last week for me, I really seem to be in the role of poster child for the current energies, because the week prior to last week was like every card I lived out, and this past week was no exception. I mean, probably even more so. Wild. I even shared some of my personal stories in the New Moon Empowerment reading. So some of you may know what I'm talking about, and there's more since then. So suffice it to say, all of those coins cards were really coming to life for me last week, as well as our Five of Wands. So I wonder how you're making out and how that may have shown up for you, how you've moved through the very grounding, lovely energy of that Taurus New Moon, but there's still some energy that we're in now, that Algol gateway that I talked about last week in our energetic weather that is still going on and definitely causing some hot heads. And that's why I thought it was even more aligned that the channeled words for this spray talked about a cool head. So for sure, those energies are very prevalent, not only in our little microcosms, but in the macro as well. And we will talk about some of the incoming energetic weather this week too. But first, let's get started with our 5-card pull here, starting with Monday for a card that's going to represent for our collective, kicking off the week ahead, setting the tone here on Monday. So let us see what we have coming up. Oh, 8 of Swords. Wow. So this card also came up in our spread for the New Moon Empowerment reading for that New Moon in Taurus. So this is a beautiful version though. Wow. Okay. So there's definitely an opportunity for us to expand our vision, to see beyond any perceived limitations. And again, the swords are bringing us into that air energy, the mind, the communication. So we'll see how that is setting the tone for the week as Gemini season enters in. Tuesday is the card that is our potential blocker challenge this week. Like I said, last week for me, it was textbook. That was the Champion of Coins or the Knight of Pentacles as a challenge. So this week, let's see what's coming in. And, as always, with a collective reading, you're invited to take what resonates, leave the rest. It's going to be different for everyone. We're weaving a story here in the energies, consulting our intuition, using these signs and symbols to help us tune into the week ahead with some awareness. I knew it. It's the 2 of Swords. Hi. Let me show you because it is just here next to me. These are part of the cards because I'm going to be pulling the individual personal cards for that New Moon. This is from our spread. We did a 5-card spread, and I'm telling you, 2 of the energies that came up with last night's new moon in Taurus, whose energies we are still riding out, even with the moon now in Gemini, we're feeling the after effects of all that was brought up to the surface here. We got the 2 of Swords, refusing to see, and the 8 of Swords, helpless and hopeless. And that would be like this for these 2 cards so far. So that is very telling. 78 cards in here. And the first 2 that come out for this week match 2 of the 5 that came forward for the new moon energy. So let's see if any others come through. For Wednesday, a midweek blessing. So yeah, these 2 go together. Lots of headsiness, perspective, choice points, thoughts, communication, all the things. So let's see. Wednesday is our midweek blessing. And I think somewhere in there is going to be where Gemini season kicks in as well. I just got to double swords everywhere, guys. Look at this. Air, swords. But I'm seeing butterfly energy in all 3 of these cards. So this is, just as we were saying here with the Emerald Dew, a time of transition, a time of change. And, you know, we've talked so many times about the mush of the chrysalis, you know, being in that state where the butterfly is not yet ready to emerge. Its wings are drying, it's unfurling, or you could just be still in that sort of dark, mushy place. Wherever you are, be there, right? Because this month, the energies that were coming in when I tuned into the energy of May was these channeled words, may we till truth and tend growth. So as these things are coming up, as it's turning over, we are tilling it, that truth, and we are tending to our growth, authentic growth. So again, in all of that, there has to be potentially a shift in our thoughts, in our beliefs, in our ideas, in our perspectives. These swords have an eye in the center of them. Same with all of these. So there really is an energy of tuning into your intuitive knowing, your inner knowing, third eye energy. Let's see. Do the swords continue, or are we bringing in another energy for Thursday? For how are we growing, and how have we grown through the whole of Taurus season? How might we expect to grow now in Gemini season? What's coming up? Let's see. Wow. Ooh, look at that. Yes. Ace of Coins, new beginnings, grounded, tangible. This is earth energy. This is the physical. So it's saying this is not all for naught. You know, all of this energy that can feel a bit frenetic, a bit, you know, not pleasant, right, at times. And yet it's all serving to really open the gate to some new seeds that have been planted, that we have an opportunity to sow here, where our energy is, and our focus is tuning into what we wish to see, what we're looking to tend to and grow. So Ace of Coins is a beautiful balm, I'll say again, to all of this airy energy that can sometimes be a little cutting, a little harsh with those swords. So let's see what Friday is going to bring in to cap that off, and then we're going to pull our oracle message for one final card. So let's see. Friday. Crown of Coins, beautiful. So this is going to come in now, I believe, as the King of Pentacles. I'll double check that. But Crown of Coins is definitely bringing us into that embodied energy of the coins or the pentacles, this earth energy. And look what, in order to get there, had to come through the death, the release, the shedding, the transformation. So that is all part and parcel of adorning that crown, right? So we'll feel into that too. Okay, now we're going to pull one oracle card from the Find Your Own Way Oracle. And so this is where I say, as we're moving through these messages, if you are really feeling it, if there are specific areas that are kicking up for you or you'd like to get a little more insight into, and you would like a personal card pull this week, please feel free to reach out and let me know, and I will come in and send you a private personal card pull in the reference to these cards and energies that are coming forward this week. But let's punctuate it here with this Find Your Own Way Oracle. That one came right up. Ooh, share the burden. Wow, so this feels like an antidote to that 10 of Wands that we had 2 weeks in a row. Last week and the week before, we had the 10 of Wands, which was a basket filled to the brim with bundles of wands, which was very much overloaded, very much feeling, that sense. It can be burnout. It can be overwhelm. And I say the lean on me energy. So that's what I'm getting here with the share the burden. So we'll talk about that one as we go through our intuitive messages. Okay, let's take a look now at some of the astrological weather, and then we'll roll into our cards. All right, let's take a look at some energetic weather this week. As I come in here on Sunday evening, we are looking at May 17th, Mercury in Gemini, conjunct Uranus. So, happened today in reflection. Mercury, who loves to be in Gemini, is quick thinking, sharp, and excellent at storytelling. So use this energy to problem solve and to bring support to any communication projects you may be working on. Interesting, because we just fly right into this week with swords right out the gate, which is so on point there. As Mercury moves into Gemini, it aligns with Uranus, creating some chaotic yet high creative energy. Our brains may be running in overdrive as we inspire new ways of thinking and out-of-the-box ideas. Perfect. We may even decide to push some boundaries. Wow, I'm feeling that with these cards. For sure. So that was today. And now as we step into the week, Monday, May 18th, Mars in Taurus. So Mars moves into Aries, ending a period of intensity and high energy. Now, I think that's Mars in Taurus because it's Mars in Taurus, which favors slowing down and making time to stop and smell the roses. So yeah, this is I feel like that push-pull of fast and fiery with Aries to slow and methodical Taurus. So that's where it's moving to. So Mars, which is usually that planet of war and action and fire, and with Aries right there, and it's as its home sign. So then we have this energy of Mars and Taurus favoring slowing down and making time to stop and smell the roses. So this may be a welcome reset moment after the high intensity, fiery energies of the weeks past. Now, also on Monday, May 18th, Venus enters Cancer. Now, Venus enters the soft, sensitive, and nurturing sign of Cancer. We may feel extra sensitive or more aware of our emotions. Don't be afraid to say no and set boundaries if needed, especially if you are naturally empathic. Yeah, I'm really seeing that, especially with those 3 swords in a row, and then moving into that Ace of Coins with the fence and the sort of hedge that's going across. That's Thursday's energy. I'm really feeling that with the need for some boundaries and some, kind of outlining. So we'll feel into that. Now, May 19th through the 21st, so kind of a span of time this week, we have the 𝓘𝓚 Gateway and Pleiades Gateway. So the 𝓘𝓚 Gateway is activated by the sun aligning with the star 𝓘𝓚, one of the major stars of the Pleiades. Now, 𝓘𝓚 could be defined as the feminine version of Sirius. So if Sirius is our spiritual sun, then 𝓘𝓚 can be our shadow sun, the sun that shines a light on all that deeper, darker stuff that we have to wade through in order to reach new levels of spiritual awareness. Yeah, this is what we were tapping into with that metamorphosis energy, the chrysalis and the butterfly. These shadows are our fears and repressed emotions. These shadows are also the feelings of shame that we may possess around ourselves and our lives. So exposing and bringing these into the light is always possible, but under the influence of the Pleiades, we may feel divinely supported and guided to do this work. The Pleiades are also strongly connected to the spirit world and may help us to connect with loved ones who have passed. So that is a gateway that we are moving through from the 19th through the 21st this week. And then May 20th, Gemini season begins. Goodbye, Taurus. Hello, Gemini. Happy birthday to all of our Geminis. So the sun moves out of steady, grounded Taurus into the social and quick-witted sign of the twins. Gemini is an air sign, which means energy will move from our lower chakras to our higher chakras, fueling our creativity, self-expression, and our desire to share. Gemini season is a great time to focus on communication and working with our hands. It is also a power time when it comes to recognizing both aspects of our being. We are a soul, but we are also a physical body. And this is the nature of the Gemini twins. One twin is mortal and the other is immortal, representing our temporary body and our forever soul. Again, feeling those butterfly references, caterpillar to the butterfly. This is the nature of the Gemini twins, right? So this Gemini season, we will be receiving strong beams from the planet Uranus, which will be guiding all of us to create a more authentic voice. Yes. So, that's a lot of energy moving this week. And like I said, that shift from the earthy, slow moving Taurus to a lot of fast moving energy, 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓾𝓲 energy. So this is where it's more important than ever to get grounded, to touch grass, to have a practice for yourself, to come back into your body, right? To take a breath, to take a beat. Right, so keep that in mind, pun intended, as we go. So let's get into these cards and see what's coming in this week. All right, we are starting with our 8 of Swords coming in here for Monday to kick it off, set the tone. 8 of Swords seems quite appropriate given all of that airy mind-filled energy we were just talking about. So 8 of Swords through the lens of the Transient Light Tarot, which has been giving some really interesting perspectives. The spark within can be extinguished by a cage of your own creation. That's powerful. Perhaps you are isolating yourself or restricting your access to new perspectives. Self-made prisons may be made from beams of fear, cords of exhaustion, or chains of doubt. What is your blindfold? Unlike the hermit, this is not a healthy form of self-reflection. Break out of your echo chamber and unlock your senses with courage. Wow, I mean, that's powerful, and also it's very self-directed, which is always a good thing. Like, at the center of your universe is you. So if we're really caught up in our head and we have a lot of analysis paralysis going on, or there's a lot of like mean self-trash talk, or feeling blocked and locked and in lack, we can look to ourselves for the source of that, right? So then that's empowering, because that means we can do something about it, because that's exactly who we have any control over, is our own actions and reactions. And so that first sentence, the spark within, can be extinguished by a cage of your own creation. So we all have this unique spark. We have this light within us that's just looking to come here on this earthly journey. And just as we were just saying, yes, we are an eternal soul, and we are a physical mortal body. This physical mortal body is the vessel that we chose in soul form to carry us through this particular lifetime with an intention to learn, grow, heal, and expand as a soul. If we are caught up in the mind and we have created some type of cage of our own creation, then it is dampening that spark. It's trapping that spark and preventing it from being able to initiate and glow, right? So that's very powerful, because it really is putting you back to self. Now, I love how, depending on how you see this, whether we're laying down on the ground looking up through those swords and that moon is at the center, which I keep coming back to our blue moon this month, which is the last day of May, May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, which is fiery and exciting and adventurous and expansive and curious. And I think really, if we are feeling held up, held back, or even just kind of ungrounded and in all that air and in the mind right now, those 2 weeks from now is when we're really looking to get to initiate and have some go time. But this feels like if we were laying on the ground on our back, looking up, and we're looking up at the sky, at the moon, but in front of us appears to be all of these swords, which represent our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas, our words that are blocking us, creating a perceived barrier. But that's just it. It's a perception. It's not a reality. And so we have the opportunity to choose at any time to liberate ourselves from that cage of our own creation. So that's really powerful. And again, we're going to get a double dose of it now, because you're going to see how the Two of Swords is going to be very similar in bringing us to a choice point where we get to decide, am I going to continue to be in this limited space, or am I going to break myself free? So let's take a look. All right. Tuesday represents a potential block or a challenge that we may encounter this week. The Two of Swords. Again, see how the swords each have that single eye and then the butterfly in the third eye space. If we were to look at this as a face, look at that. If that was a face with those two eyes and the third eye up here being expansive, one that is calling for liberation, for freedom, for spreading our wings, right? So let's take a look at what message is coming in now with this Two of Swords from the Transient Light Tarot. What is the lesser evil? Which choice will bring greater gain? The dim half light of the moon makes it hard to see any imbalance between your choices. Maybe a list of pros and cons will bring clarity, but sometimes the only way to move forward is to roll the dice and embrace the consequences. All paths will bring challenge and opportunity to grow. Don't let paralysis, this is what I was feeling. Don't let paralysis overtake you. Pick up a sword. So I said analysis paralysis. When we're so caught up in our head and we're constantly, thinking and then overthinking some more, thinking our way out of taking action, of making a choice. And so this is saying, pick a sword. Left or right, you can't go wrong, because it's all about, as I say, the fool's journey, learning, growing, healing, expanding. So whichever way you go, you're going to have an opportunity to learn something and maybe even grow. And so that feels really aligned with our theme this month and this energy of, what choice feels expansive. And that's the other thing is like, if we're not sure which way to go, you have this sort of, half of a second when you first have a thought and your body reacts and you have a feeling. And oftentimes what happens, that's the answer very often, right? The intuition, your inner truth detector responding to you. But what happens is the ego swoops in. The ego's job is to keep you safe. The ego only understands and perceives of what it already knows. So the ego is not a big fan of taking chances, of trying new things, of stepping out of your comfort zone, because that feels unpredictable and that's uncomfortable. So it quickly reins us in by talking us out of, very often, what we already felt was the direction that was calling to our soul. And so that's where we can end up bound and twisted for a very long time. And sometimes, that serves too. In the same way that we were compared to the Hermit from the Eight of Swords, I'm also feeling a comparison to the Hanged Man here and the Two of Swords, because sometimes the stuckness calls for surrender in a way that serves, right? Because sometimes it's just not the right timing and we needed to stay in that situation a little longer, or, to linger around in a circumstance that we know or we're feeling on some level is not aligned, and yet there's still some unfinished business there, which can be a whole host of things, karmic and soul contract and otherwise. But there's an energy here of a choice point, a crossroads, and an opportunity to choose and then step. And that's kind of what I'm feeling with this 2-week period where we're building up to that Sagittarius blue full moon. Okay, let's take a look at the big butterfly on Wednesday. All right, Wednesday coming in with our swords trifecta, right? Here's the third sword in a row all week, the Six of Swords, which actually feels really good because it feels like we made a choice. We took a step. We're moving in a certain direction. And that feels, for maybe for the first time in a while, very liberating, very freeing. It feels good because we feel like those swords are all in a row now. They're not blocking our view. We're not twisted up, but they're rather sort of highlighting a path forward. So the Six of Swords says, a cry to move on, a whisper to run away, a call to start again. So whatever your motive, transferring to new pastures requires mental adjustment. If you need to move your mind forward or away, create your own personal ritual or ceremony to prepare and solidify new truths. Bring your spirit, heart, mind, and body through this journey in unison by marking this rite of passage or great escape. Wow, I love that take on the Six of Swords because, a lot of times with the Six of Swords, we're talking about, moving on to smoother waters ahead. There's a sunrise on the horizon, but right now the water's still a bit choppy. So we're moving on from a difficult situation that's slowly getting lighter, but it's not all cleared yet, right? There's still some of the wake of the boat, that's sort of creating some dis-ease there. And so, I love how this is saying a mental adjustment is needed because for sure those two cards were telling us that. So, if we're experiencing that feeling of being caught at a crossroads but limited perception or we feel like our options are few or, there's all that twisted up feeling that we were just talking about, Wednesday's midweek blessing shows sort of a lessening of that and sort of getting those swords in a row in a way that allows us to start something new, even if it is just a step in the direction of moving your mind forward first or away from something that's not serving. And I love how it suggests creating your own personal ritual or ceremony because, that's kind of what I was feeling into with the getting grounded, touching grass, bringing in the emerald dew for renewal and recovery. And there was a line there in the channeled words that talked about how the way that a dewdrop is formed is the surface that it forms on has to be willing. It has to be receptive to hold that dewdrop. And the dewdrop is so fragile, right? And yet those conditions are just perfect in order to hold it. So putting our focus on how can I create a hospitable environment for my thoughts and then my subsequent actions to flourish? How can I create a willing environment to hold that fragile thought, idea, or something new that's looking to come in? So really feeling that with that Six of Swords. And remember, the number 6 is the one of balance, healing, harmony. So it's finding a way forward through challenging times or through things that are not clear to greater clarity. Let's take a look now at Thursday, bringing in some new elemental energies. All right, Ace of Coins coming in as a beautiful Thursday. How are we growing? How did we grow throughout Taurus season, that earth energy of the coins? And how might we expect to grow as we step into Gemini season? This is the card that I was feeling when we were talking about the need for boundaries, the need for, kind of setting that perimeter to this precious dewdrop or seed that we are holding so that we have an opportunity to really tend to that, to cultivate that. So let's take a look at Transient Light's take on this Ace of Coins. It says the Ace of Coins is a secret garden waiting to be unlocked and claimed. When opportunities to manifest your purpose arise, take them. You win some and you lose some, but it forms a training ground for your development. Don't worry too much about the long-term investments. It may be a good time to discover your skills and preferences by trying several new things with less commitment. See, now the ego goes, oh, new? what do you mean? I don't have the safety, the security, the stability, and that's what we were experiencing here. And yet we're being encouraged to like, just do a thing, take a step, make a choice, plant a seed. So very similarly now, but in a grounded way, Ace of Coins is saying the same thing. You win some, you lose some. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. It doesn't matter which way you go. You win some, you lose some, but it always forms a training ground for your development. And in many cases, the choice that we perceive as a loss or wrong can actually be the most fertile ground for the greatest learning in our lives. So, again, if we ground in and we trust our own inner knowing, use your tools of choice. Have your own process of getting centered, of maybe doing some, free writing where you pose a question or you have a thought at the top of the paper, and then you just let yourself start writing, and you can set a timer or you can just write till you're done. But, as picking up the pen as little as possible, or if you type, however you choose, but doing some sort of like that free writing where you just write out whatever comes to mind and just let it come out, and then look at it and see, what you're feeling from that. And it may be that the answer is just right there for you in a way that's, just been waiting to be seen now that we're allowing ourselves to expand beyond that limited perspective. So this does feel like something that is initiating a seed being planted, and perhaps even a boundary set. Like I said, that hedgeway and the arch, the gate into that secret garden feels like you may also be feeling a little guarded in terms of you don't have to share those ideas and those little seedlings with everybody, right? Not everybody maybe gets a front row seat in the secret garden. So it's also okay for you to keep some things, kind of close to the chest at first and just be with it for a bit. You don't have to put it all out there. That's another message I'm getting for some people. And again, everybody's experience is going to be different, but with everything that we're just kind of intuitively checking into here this week, if there's something specific pinging for you and you want some further personal guidance on those specifics, reach out, let me know, and we will tune in and pull another card with these in the backdrop to see more specifically what's coming up for you. Okay, one last tarot card for Friday, and then we'll have our oracle message. All right, Friday, bringing in the last tarot card of the week. And yes, in fact, this is the Crown of Coins, which is like the King of Coins or Pentacles. And that is coming in with the following message. It says, with great riches comes great responsibility. To offset pride, the Crown of Coins wears a token of humility as a reminder of their origin. Responsible leadership, distribution of energy and wealth is a duty that requires discipline. Stay grounded and connected with your humanity and humble beginnings. Perhaps meditate, focusing on the body. Sit with the energy flowing through your veins and appreciate the fragility of life. Even just using that word fragility again is reminding me of the dew, and holding that precious dewdrop and, being a steward to it, because you have this unique spark, you have this seed, you have this idea, this thought, this creative expression that's waiting to be set free from that cage of our own making, right, at where we started this week. But now we see that the Crown of Coins is sort of having come through all of that, but also being reminded of our own humble beginnings. So, I can see where this could come in some of those relationship dynamics, especially if we're feeling frustrated with, where someone else may be, or their perceived limitations, or, they're refusing to see in some way. That phrase as it comes through, refusing to see, right? Feeling helpless and hopeless, but actually the Crown of Coins is wearing that gold talisman to say, hey, listen, you've been here before, and you know what it is to be in a state of feeling like you have no other options or everything's kind of closing in. And, if we have had a taste of the expansion beyond that, and somebody else is in that state, it's also coming in to humble us. Because like I said, with the king, or in this case, the embodiment of the coins, the Crown of Coins is a leadership energy. And it's holding a frequency to emanate for all, and most especially for yourself. So it really is, a way to endeavor toward from the ace all the way to its fullest expression, the crown. So interesting to see, especially as we're stepping into a new season with Gemini season, and we have a new cycle kicking off with this new moon in Taurus, to see where those coins end up 6 months from now with the full moon in Taurus, again, with the earth energy. So seeds that we're planting today, growth that will happen in 6 months. And also from this vantage point, look back 6 months ago. Right? How have you grown from there? What has unfolded for you since 6 months ago? Things that you were wishing for, hoping for, looking for, or were struggling with. What has changed in your life? And then imagine how that is equally possible in the next 6 months, and maybe even more so, because each time as we learn, grow, heal, expand, we're gathering knowledge. We are cultivating wisdom. So I really feel that setting some roots and beginning the growth that will expand into and through even these next 6 months. Okay, let's take a look at our final card, our beautiful Find Your Own Way Oracle message. All right, I opened right to it. So when I do, I know that there's something in here for us to really take note of. So share the burden. I mentioned this was kind of hearkening me back to 2 weeks prior, two weeks in a row, that we got the 10 of Wands, all those bundles in the basket. Now we're stepping into this energy of sharing the burden. It says, while being self-sufficient can feel fulfilling and honorable, even the most capable and independent individuals benefit from sharing the burden and seeking support. The closer a responsibility or task is to your heart, the harder it may seem to let others in. However, taking everything on alone is unsustainable, and it blocks pathways to helpful insights, deeper connections, and community. Sharing the load not only lightens your burden, but also enriches the task or experience. Your loved ones may see it less as a burden than you think. It's crucial not to block their help after sharing your feelings or challenges with them. They will likely view it as an opportunity to lift you up and show their care and support. I'm definitely feeling this. Like I've mentioned, the season that I'm in right now is all about, we've got a graduate coming in, we've got a lot of different milestone things happening. And this end of the, school year tends to be very busy for a lot of people, especially if you do have school age children in your life, or you yourself may be in some particular season of study or changing of job seasonally, or just in general, the invitations, the events, the things, all the spring busyness. My plate is completely overloaded right now. And I mentioned that the last 2 weeks that we've been getting those cards. And specifically, this weekend I was having a conversation with some family around me that were offering to help. And, as much as I appreciate it, it's sometimes hard for me to ask for help. Or if someone just says, oh, let me know if I can help you, ... chances are I'm never going to do that. So very gratefully, they specifically named something that they could help me with and got right on handling it. And we're talking like, working on getting a prom dress mended because, fitted, because prom is quickly approaching and the time to get that done. But we've got sports schedules and concerts and all kinds of things going, that finding time to get there has proven to be very challenging. Like I said, this is practical. This is real life. This is the kind of stuff that the tarot, the oracle messages are coming through to talk to us about. It doesn't have to be anything massive and earth-shattering. It's all these little pebbles, as we see in this basket, that make up the totality of our human experience here. So it doesn't have to be real sexy and shiny. It can really be just like helping you to do a thing, a task, a chore, a phone call, something that there's an opportunity for us to allow ourselves to lean on, or we may have someone who needs to lean on us. So I'm feeling that energy here with the share the burden. There's an affirmation with this card that says, with courage and grace, may I share my experience and let others hold space for me. And I think the other side of that is oftentimes we might think we don't want to bother anybody, we don't want to put anybody out, or we might even feel like I don't like feeling like I owe something, owe someone or anything like that. And actually, a lot of times our allowing someone to help us is a gift to them because it gives them an opportunity to feel useful, helpful, and so it can be a win-win, and it's giving me that 6 of coins because we've been getting that a lot too with the scales, the reciprocity. That was a card that came up last week, I think in Thursday's position, as a matter of fact, for how we're growing. So allowing some of that reciprocity, that giving and receiving, if you can, ask for help when you need it, and that's where if there's something specific that someone can help you with. Again, I'm also giving a reading, getting a reading here for sure. And this is where all those thoughts, all those ideas, if we can ground into maybe making a list or jotting things down, that we're able to see areas where we can lighten the load and share the burden. So beautiful energy coming through this week, albeit, a lot, intense, and it can feel heavy. So again, if you're feeling that, if you could benefit from a card pull and you would like, please reach out and let me know. Also, if you are interested in that new moon empowerment reading, it is still available. As I said, the part 1 is all recorded with that 5-card spread and the messages that we brought through intuitively, as well as a ritual that is still very much available for you to do through the beginning of Gemini season this week. So still a couple days for that. And then I would be coming in to do your personal card pulls to expand on the other side of that new moon. So if you're interested in the new moon empowerment reading, that is also one that is worthwhile checking out. Because like I said, some really good messages came through there as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I wish you all much love, many blessings, and step lightly into this new season. We'll talk soon.